the first thing I have to do is give shouts out to the SFU Communications Co-op program. That was really the, yes, yeah. As I always say, that was the catalyst to my career. So I was, hell of a long time ago. Oh, swear word one. I would have been 19, and I did a co-op, and I went to Ottawa. I worked for Human Resources Development Canada, and just my luck. My story seems to be about timing and bad timing. That's really the thread that goes through it, and just how you persevere and tenacity, because I think that's something as PR people and communications people, there's no such thing as a no, and it's about having tenacity. So everybody started to leave my department like flies. And I was like, is it me? But anyway, it's just government. So I ended up running most of that department as a co-op student, being 19 years old. I was like, bonus, that's great. But my new director who came in, she said to my boss, and so she goes, so you run this file, and Almira runs everything else. And she's a co-op student, so how does this work? And I'm like, I just think I'm extra special, right? But I had no idea how to say no. So great, I got amazing experience, I had great connections. I ended up working communications as of my third year of university at SFU. So that was great, I got all the experience, and then I went and worked for Future Shop, and then I ended up actually working for Wilcox PR. Anybody who's been in the PR world for a long time will remember Wilcox, and they were the #3 PR agency who mostly did crisis. So my wonderful summer one year was TransLink had a bus strike, Sun Peaks had Aboriginal protesters on their client's land, Purdy's went on strike, and Best Buy bought Future Shop, and they gave me 72 hours notice to do the press conference. Amazing, my life was awesome. But I actually did love it, because on the counter side of it is that I got to do PR for Nike, Best Buy, like the world's best brands, and my love is building brands. But then of course I decided I want to move to London. So I go on the holiday maker visa, and you can work in a bar or a shop, you can't work a real job. But who cares? Because the year before that, that's when the tech market was amazing. So recruiters didn't care. They were just like, we're gonna place everybody anyways. So I get there and they're like, we can't help you. The tech market is bombed. You're just gonna have to do this yourself. I'm like, great, amazing. So I temped, and it was awesome. I worked for English Heritage. I took couriers at the reception desk, and they thought I was so amazing welcoming people and taking receptions. They were like, would you like a full-time job doing this? And I was like, I might have to kill myself, but okay. So I started knocking on doors. So at the agency that I worked at, Molson was a client. So I saw an ad on the tube one day when I was in London, and I thought, Cobra beer. I'm like, I have beer experience. So I cold called the marketing director, and he's like, well, I'm looking for a secretary. I said, I'll cut you a deal. I'll be your secretary if you let me do PR. World's best deals. Seriously, because when I look at my salary now, that man got the world's best deal. But then a year later, I got promoted to head of global PR. It was ridiculous. I was 26 years old. So I had people in South Africa, the US, India, we had a brewery in Poland, and then my UK team all answered to me. I was 26, it was ridiculous. But Cobra, it was so cool. It was the time when we were there. It was actually the hottest niche beer brand in the UK and in Europe. We were right up there with Tiger, and we were building a mainstream brand. Selfridges used to charge people £50,000 to put their product in the windows. They were calling me and saying, could you send us beer? We were the hottest brand on the market. We were up there with Virgin Airlines. And Richard Branson was actually my CEO's mentor. So I was hanging out with Branson and going on planes and traveling the world and running press trips. But then I decided that I wanted to move to Australia. So on top of, they weren't too happy. They're like, we thought you loved your job. I'm like, I love here. I can stay for the rest of my life. But for me, I love to travel. That was my thing. So then I moved to Australia, and I was like, I'm gonna surf. I can't surf. I have no body core strength. Terrible. I walk like I'm like riding a horse by the end of everything because I'm in so much pain. And they're just like, maybe you shouldn't surf. It's not a good idea. But my boss found out that I had a background in crisis communications, and my company was laying off 1,000 people. And they're like, oh, here, you can manage the communications layoffs. I'm like, thanks, man, that's awesome. But because of my international experience, they said, you'd worked in Canada, you've worked in the UK, your salary is over $100,000. Like, it was crazy when I was there. Then I took a contract and I worked in Cape Town. And then I came back to Canada and they said, sorry, and this is very much a story about Canada and its international exposure. I don't know if anybody's ever experienced it. But they said, you don't have Canadian experience anymore. I couldn't even get an account coordinator job. So I knocked on doors. Again, here we go again. I had 2 contacts left in Vancouver. I never expected to move back here. 2 people helped me. I found a client on Craigslist, and I mystery shopped at Rogers Video. We didn't even have mobile phones back then. Rogers Video. And that's how I started my company. So my business partner, Lindsay, I don't know if anybody's seen the Jive website. I'm like dark hair, dark skin. Lindsay is blonde hair, blue eyed. She was a Bollywood producer. She came back here, door slammed in her face. You've not been in Canada for so long. You have no experience. You started freelancing as well. So for our story together, and Lindsay and I, we weren't best friends when we joined forces and started the company, but now we're absolute soulmates, and you get dark and the blonde. But both of our stories is about there's no such thing as no. And so when we each started having to freelance, we built our own small companies. Oh, here's the other obstacle. So before Lindsay and I set up the business, I really wanted to immigrate back to Australia. So I was like, okay, I want my own passport. So I started doing all the applications, spent all the money, and I didn't read the fine print. But I turned 30, so I didn't have enough points to get my own passport. So I was like, well, forget it. I'm part of the Commonwealth. I can just move to Australia and just work there for 6 months. And I was like, I work for myself, and my love is travel. So I ended up doing that, and it was great. When it's Vancouver's winter, Australia's summer, the time difference is actually manageable. So I put in a 604 number through my computer, worked from the beach. It was amazing. Nobody had any idea. I just came back really tanned, so I think everybody kind of wondered what I was up to during that time. But my whole goal was to freelance, and then we set up our company. And now 7 years later, Lindsay and I have co-founded. We're so proud to say that we're one of Canada's top boutique PR and social media agencies. We've got offices in Vancouver, Toronto. We've just opened up in LA. We've been very well awarded, and we've got an incredible, incredible team. So my lesson is there's no such thing as no.